Hi, I'm Valerie Espinosa, your New Mexico Public Regulation Commissioner, and I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of our program that we've had ongoing for many years here in Santa Fe. And today we have a very special guest by the name of Julie Vargas. She's running for the New Mexico Court of Appeals. Welcome.
Thank you, Valerie. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I've been doing this program for I can't remember how many years, and we interview everybody that's in government or wanting to be in government. We sort of want to introduce the public to what these positions entail, and so I'm going to let you start off by really giving the public an introduction to who you are. I've met you recently on the campaign trail, and I've come to know you. I find you highly qualified and just a really down-to-earth kind of person, and I like that about you. You're very approachable, and so that's how I got to know you.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and any opportunity to kind of educate the voters about the election and the positions that are on the ballot is really an amazing opportunity, and so I really appreciate you having me here. As I said, my name is Julie Vargas, and I'm running for the New Mexico Court of Appeals, and I am an Albuquerque native. I was born and raised in Old Town in Albuquerque, and I still live about 100 feet from the house where I was raised.
How nice.
Yeah, it's great.
It's beautiful there. Don't they have an annual fiesta?
They do. The San Felipe Fiestas they have every June.
When is that? You're going to have to remind me in the future.
It's in the beginning of June, and I actually went to elementary school at San Felipe, so it was a big part of my childhood. So I really love it when that time of year comes around.
Good deal. Well, we have so many positions on the ballot. We have so many, the judicial positions also.
Right.
But help me understand what kind of cases, or help all of us figure out. We've got the New Mexico Supreme Court, you've got the Court of Appeals, you've got district, and all different types of judges, and they all have to follow certain kind of rules to get on the ballot, and you had $5 contributions. We're going to go to that. But first of all, what specifically does the New Mexico Court of Appeals judge do?
So the Court of Appeals is a panel of 10 judges. There's 10 judges in New Mexico on the New Mexico Court of Appeals, and they run in a statewide election.
Every 4 years?
They don't run every 4 years. They run once in a contested election, and then they run for retention. So as a member of the Court of Appeals, you consider appeals from the district court. The district court, when you think about the judicial process, the district court is the trial court. It's where the witnesses come and testify, and there's a jury frequently, and the jury decides the case. And if the parties don't like the result, if one of them thinks that there's a mistake that's been made, then they can appeal that case to the New Mexico Court of Appeals.
I see. It doesn't matter what type of case, more or less what kind of cases go there.
Oh, just about every kind of case.
Except the PRC.
Except for the PRC, and except for some certain murder cases. Everything else is appealed to the Court of Appeals first.
I see. So in your background, you were an attorney, you went to school where, and then I'm going to ask you why you're running.
So as I said, I was born and raised in Albuquerque. I graduated from Albuquerque High. I wanted to see what it was like to not live in New Mexico for a while, and so I went to college in Providence, Rhode Island.
What was that like?
It was completely different.
You missed home and your chili?
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. I went to Brown University, and Brown was an amazing school. It was an amazing opportunity. I got a fabulous education. I could not wait to come home to New Mexico, and the sunshine, the wonderful people here, and of course the red and green question. So I missed the chili a lot.
And Christmas back home.
Oh yeah, I really missed New Mexico, and I could not wait to get back here, and I just love living here.
And what about UNM? Didn't you go to school at UNM?
I did.
Well?
I went to law school at UNM and graduated in 1993. And so since graduating, I've been practicing.
1993.
23 years flew by. I've been practicing law for 23 years.
And where are you practicing right now?
I'm a partner in an Albuquerque law firm called Hunt & Davis, and we do mostly real estate litigation, commercial and business litigation, lots of disputes over land, and so that's primarily the area that we focus on.
Yeah, it's typical that families get in disputes often, and
sadly, that is the case, that you do end up dealing with a lot of family disputes.
That's why you leave a will in place.
Right.
Most our grandparents and parents never felt that there'd be a problem.
Right. You always hope that everybody is going to cooperate when a situation like that comes up, but sometimes people have issues that they need to address, and that's when they come and see me and my partners and our law firm.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So you're running for this position, and right now I think there's an appointee in the position.
Yes.
And so you mentioned that there's certain cases that you hear there.
Sure.
But why did you decide this particular position?
There's a couple of reasons. My dad was a lawyer. I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer.
What was your dad's name?
My dad's name was Ray Vargas, and I also have a brother named Ray Vargas who's also a lawyer.
And I think you mentioned that he was from Taos?
Yes, my dad is a Taoseño, and I still have a lot of family up in Taos, and so I love to go up there and see them and spend time up there. It's so beautiful up there.
I suppose you did the Taos Fiesta Parade.
I did.
And you were well received there.
I did, and it seems like everywhere I turn around, either I meet someone who went to high school with my dad, or with my aunt, or knew my grandparents. It's so nice. My dad passed away last year, and so every time I run into someone new that has a story to tell me about him,
you take it in.
Oh my gosh,
I know the feeling.
It's priceless.
I know.
Yeah, so that's been wonderful, and the people up there have just been so wonderfully warm.
Well, New Mexico's a small, state.
Yeah. Yes.
And like you said earlier, we're very warm people.
Yes.
It's not like being in New York.
Where nobody knows anyone else. Yeah.
He smiles.
I'm always surprised when I go somewhere and I don't know someone, or I don't know someone who doesn't know my family. So it is that kind of a place.
And your brother Ray is also an attorney?
My brother is also an attorney. He practices in Albuquerque, as well. So it's kind of the family business. And so I always knew that's what I wanted to do.
All of you were lawyers?
All of us were lawyers, yeah.
I'll be darned. That's impressive. So back to why you decided to run for this position.
Mm-hmm. So I like I said, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. When I would go places with my dad, people would always stop him and say, thank you, Mr. Vargas. You represented me 10 years ago and you helped me, and without you, nobody would have paid any attention to the problem that I'm having, and so I really appreciate that. And when I saw people doing that, I thought, what a great job. What a great job where you get to make people feel like that. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so when I think about, okay, I've been doing that for 23 years with my own clients and my own thank you moments.
You certainly have the experience.
Yeah. So, after 23 years, I think, well, how can I use that motivation in another way? And the best way I can think of is as a member of the court, where it's my job to make sure that everybody gets heard, everybody gets treated fairly, and so that really motivates me to.
And I think you would be that ideal person because, like I said, when I first met you, you were so approachable.
Right, and I think that's really important when you're a judge or an official. You want people to be able to talk to you.
And in this position, this is statewide, so anybody in the state of New Mexico can vote for you.
Right.
So how is it broken up then in everybody that's on the New Mexico Court of Appeals right now? You said there's 10 people. Mm-hmm. They are also elected at large?
Yes, they've all...
And they're assigned to districts?
No, there are no districts. It's a statewide race. There are 2 Court of Appeals offices.
Open?
Well, there's 2, yes. There's one in Santa Fe at the Supreme Court building, and there's one in Albuquerque at the UNM Law School. And 7 judges sit in Albuquerque and 3 judges sit in Santa Fe.
Now, where would you be?
In all likelihood, I think I would be in Albuquerque, but I'm not sure that any of that has been finalized, so we'll see. But I'm fine with either.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you live in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Or you can have a branch here with us.
Yeah.
So on, the way you just mentioned that you would, if you get elected, you will be on retention, and that means you get 57% of the vote on the ballot, but people have to vote for you regardless after you win.
If I'm elected and I'll have to run for retention, and in the retention election, 57% of the people who vote would have to vote to retain me.
I see. And is that, I think I asked you earlier, is that every 4 years? And
That it's an 8-year term.
8 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a little bit longer.
Wow. And I know also that, it's so hard to try to qualify with these $5 contributions. I understand you were on public financing.
Yes.
How does that work? Did it work for you? Because I know with judges and others, it's different with the form you fill out.
Right. So it's public financing in judicial races is a recent development. There's only been one other race, one prior race that has used public financing. And the idea is that it's not a good idea to have people and corporations giving money to judges to run their elections. It just sounds bad, and it sounds like a conflict of interest. So the legislature promulgated a statute that provided public financing for statewide judicial elections, so that would be the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court, so that if you meet their requirements, you are entitled to a certain amount of money to run your campaign. So you're not asking corporations, you're not asking individuals to donate to your campaign.
And it takes the work out of it. It gives you more time to connect with the voters and ask for this,
right.
so they can get to know you.
That's
so that
right.
They will vote for you.
Exactly. And it's a little bit of an arduous process, and it's even a little bit more difficult in a judicial race than in another race, but I think it's well worth it, and it gives the public a little bit more comfort with what we're doing.
Yeah, and again, I think it keeps, it's really difficult to be asking people for money.
Right. And when you may be ruling on cases that they're interested in at a later date, it just doesn't, it's not a good idea. It doesn't smell good.
And then, you'd have to recuse yourself.
Right.
Some people don't. And
and then you've got problems.
Yeah.
So the idea is we want to take private money out of those kinds of races.
Good.
Yeah.
Also, I see you've been recommended as a qualified, candidate. Mm-hmm. So you had to go through some judicial process?
Yeah, the process for being appointed to the court is kind of complicated. There's a judicial selection committee. When there's a vacancy that comes up, there's a judicial selection committee that is put together, and you have to apply and interview with that committee to be considered for the job. And so I applied for the job back in, I think it was January or February of this year, and I went before the Judicial Selection Committee, and their job is to vet the candidates and decide which of them are qualified to serve in the position. And then once they decide that, they recommend to the governor who those qualified candidates are. The governor is allowed to choose only from the list of qualified candidates that she gets.
Whether you're a Democrat or Republican.
Right. And then she's allowed to appoint someone from that list, but that person is required to run in a contested election in the next general election. So I applied to the commission. My name was sent up as one of the qualified candidates to the governor. I interviewed with her office along with the other candidates, and she selected the person who is currently sitting in the position, has been there, I think, since February or March.
Not very long.
Right.
Are they running an active campaign?
I've seen my opponent out there some. I don't know what he's doing all the time, but I have seen him out on the campaign trail.
Is this the same position that I think Amy Sereniago was?
No,
that's a different one?
She applied for a district court position in Albuquerque. So that was only the 2nd Judicial District, and this is a statewide race. So that was same process. They go through the exact same process.
And who's on that committee?
The commission is made up, it starts with the dean of the law school, and then there on the commission that I sat on, that I interviewed with, there were 2 Court of Appeals judges, a Supreme Court justice, and then there's an equal number of Democrats and Republicans that are on the commission.
So it seems like a very fair process.
Right. So it's nice because you're being recommended by both Democrats and Republicans to the governor.
But it's up to her.
She gets to choose who gets the job. So.